What is going on, people? Now today we're going to learn how to become backwards transpose button musicians. Now there are a couple things that I want to tell you about that you need to actually know to be a backwards transpose button musician. You must know the number system, and you must know all your chords, all your diatonic chords in all 12 keys. So we're just going to take a very simple song and we're going to talk some more about this backwards transpose button musician. Let's discuss. Chris Moses at your service. This is Gospel Progressions University, and this is where I'm here to help you and equip you as a musician / church musician. One of the things that we like to look at, and we get a lot of flack for as musicians, especially keyboard players, organists, well, nowadays it's a little different, but they didn't used to have to worry about this, but organists don't get the flack as much because there's no transpose button on the actual the organ, like an old school Hammond B3. And we have these transpose buttons on these newer keyboards. Now, the transpose button has been a thing of derision. People have been, transpose musician, I'm going to call you out and all these other things. And it's not something that anyone should be called out on. It's not something that people should be made, fun of or just stay away from. However, when we are talking about the transpose button, I want to show you how we can use it to benefit us instead of crippling us as musicians, especially keyboard musicians that use electronic keyboards or electronic organs that can actually transpose. Now, you want to master all your keys. Now, that doesn't mean you have to master every single funky chord progression in every single key right away. You want to take it slowly. This is why I said you're going to learn all the diatonic notes or chords in every key, and I'm going to talk about that. And you want to know and understand the number system. Now, knowing and understanding that will help you tremendously. I've seen too many times, too many musicians not understand even numbers. You can't call numbers out to them. So, a C flat could sound like D flat, when the music is going on, or depending if the person is not paying attention. Notes can sometimes get confused, and it's a very difficult thing to try to give somebody, explain to them what the numbers are when they don't know. Well, it's impossible, really. But this is something that you need to know. It's not a hard thing at all. Basically, you have 7 notes in any major scale, and each note can be the root of a chord. Like, for example, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, all 7 of them can be the root of a chord. 3 of them are major, 3 of them are minor, and 1 is diminished. And that's really it. So once you know all of those in all 12 keys, you're Gucci, you're golden. Okay, so if you want to learn a song, and you're going to take a song, any song, the best way to learn it in all 12 keys is to practice it in all 12 keys, right? Duh. But understand something. No one, including me, maybe I can't speak for everybody, I don't want to sit here and practice a song, I'm going to learn it in C, learn in C sharp, learn in D, learn in E flat. That's boring. What I want to learn it in the key that I'm good in, and I got it. And I'm going to go on about my merry way. What happens with people is that they do this. They learn how to play these songs, and many of us musicians, we depend on that because it's something quick. It's the easy way. It's the easy way out. We don't have to learn it in all the keys. We can learn it in just one key, and then we can just sneak over to our transpose button when nobody's looking. And then when a musician has to go behind you, happened to me, I'm sitting there wondering, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. I'm not in the right key. The choir director and the musician director's looking at me and realize, oh yeah, I had a transpose. Well, thanks a lot. You didn't tell me. So I just found out today, no kidding, where my transpose button was on this actual keyboard, because I would just use the software. But that's not something, and it's not a flex. It's something that I got myself out of the habit of doing. When I first started playing, yeah, I would depend on that transpose button, but you have to grow. All right, now, what we're gonna do is this. We're using the transpose button in a way to propel us forward. So step number 1 is this. We have to figure out the song's number system. Like, for example, we can take a simple song. And again, this is a practice technique you can use. I wouldn't recommend, if you're just learning how to play in more difficult keys, to just start at the mountaintop and then try to climb, because there's nowhere else to go. You're going to take a simple song, like we'll take the song Awesome, Charles Jenkins, and it's in the key of E, right? So we know that the key of E has 4 sharps, right? So, and we hear Awesome. So I'm going to just play it a quick example, and we're going to listen to it and listen to the chord progressions in it, right? Right.
Come on, say
So
he
you
can
have
move
one,
mountains.
which is E,
Keep me in the
5,
valley.
and then 6,
Come on, say it, hide me from the rain.
and then go to 4.
That's it.
All
My
right.
God.
So now, with this chord progression, again, we know that E is going to be major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, and 7 is diminished. So your 3 majors are going to be the 1, it's going to be the 4, and the 5. Your 3 minors are going to be 2, 3, and 6. Okay, and your diminished is going to be 7. So there you have that in every single key. The key of B, the 1 is going to be major. The key of F, the 1 is going to be major. The 3 is going to be minor. And the key of G, and when I say the key of G major or G Ionian, there's a reason for that. Ionian and major mean the same thing, but it's those 7 notes. So we understand the number system. So once we have that, we can take the song that we want to break down. And we know that the song Awesome here is in 1, it's in the key of E, and it's a 1 chord progression, 2, as in second chord, but the 5 chord, right? So in other words, chord 1, chord 5, chord 6, and then chord 4. 1, 5, 6, chord 4. 1, 5, 6, 4. So major, all right, major, and then we have our minor or minor here, and then we finally have our major. So it's 1 major, 2, so it's 3 majors and 1 minor. Again, 1, 5, 6, and 4. So we understand this. What we can do now, this is how we're going to use this transpose button hack to move forward. And this is step 2. Make sure that you are familiar with this song, the song that you're going to transpose. You don't want to half know it and kind of know it in the original key. You know that you have your E, you have your B, you have your C sharp, and then you have your A. You know that hands down, right? For step number 3, what you want to do is move in fourths. You don't want to transpose the song when you're doing it just in half steps. You want to play with music, of course. If you can get a track to play along with, that would be ideal. That would give you the best muscle memory. But you do want to play it and move up in fourths, because gospel music tends to move up in fourths. So if we're playing it in E, a fourth up from E or away from E, all right, ascending would be 1, 2, 3, 4 would give us A. So we go from the key of E to the key of A. So now how does that help us? How do we incorporate that using the transpose button? So what we would do is this. We have the song, right? And we know that it's in E, so let's hear it, all right?
Mountain.
All right, 5.
Keep me in the
Then we go to
valley.
6. So we know this is 6, right?
Come on, say it, hide me from the rain.
And we end up on 4.
That's it. My God is awesome.
Okay. So we look at that same thing and we say, okay, well, what is 1, 6, 5, 4? When we go to the key of A, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semitones higher, that means we move from E to A, 5 semitones higher. When we go to A, what we'll do is move the transpose button down 5 semitones lower, because we added 5 semitones, as in semitone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go to A. But before we move it up or move it back down to 5 semitones, let's figure out what the chords are. So the key of A would be, and for awesome, all right, so your A, right? A, and then we go to the 5 of A would be E, right? And then we go to 6, right? Would be F sharp. And then we go to the D, which would be 4, all right? So we have that. And now what we can do is say that now we're in A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semitones up from E, take our transpose button, and we go down 5 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we go right back to A and play our track.
Come on, heals me when I'm broken.
All right, 5.
Strength where I've
Go
been
to 6.
weakened.
See how that works?
Forever he'll reign.
And 4.
Come on, you got it. My God is awesome. Come on, say he can move mountains.
So the concept, again, we know that we're going up in fourths. Okay, so when we move from E, we go to A. It always 1. The 5 is going to be E. All right, 6 is going to be F sharp, and our 4 is going to be D. So with this movement now, we would continue to do this, continue moving up in fourths. So for a quick recap, or just so you understand, It might be a recap for you. I actually didn't say it before, but some of you may already be familiar with this. But if we move up in fourths, we are going to cover all 12 keys, because this method will help us do this. Go from E to A, all right? From A to D, D to G, G to C, C to F, F to B flat, all right, B flat to E flat, E flat to A flat to D flat, D flat to G flat, and G flat to B, and then B is the final key, because that just takes you right back to A. That works because we're moving in a cycle of fourths, or something called a cycle of fourths. So when we move up into fourths, we're going to be either adding or taking away a flat, but I'm going to talk about that in another video when I discuss why gospel music even. We always talk about flats with gospel music. So now we are moving in this direction, right? We go from E and then we go up to A. We're going to add that, or take away, I should say, that sharp, because A only has 3 sharps. All right, but we know that the movement is 1, 5, 6, 4. It doesn't change. So now we can go back now as we practice this, and we become familiar with it. Okay, we know 5, we know 6, and so forth. We're familiar with it. So now we know we can go back, right back to the key of E, which was down 5 semitones. So we go right back down 5 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, that sounded right. It sounded weird. Let me see where I'm at. So you might notice, I'm in G. I went down G flat. Right. I should go up an octave. It's wrong. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. All right, good. So, right, if you notice that my hands are playing one thing, but you see something else on the actual screen with the keyboard, and that's the idea. The idea overall is to play in the key that you're practicing while listening in the original key. So you're telling your keyboard it's a backward transposition. Where for the initial transposition, how people normally transpose is their hands don't move. Stays playing the same key, but the sound changes, goes up and down. The sound transposes. In the first version, when we don't learn, when we kind of stay stuck in the same key, our hands don't do any of the work, just the keyboard. It changes. It changes and it moves the tone. Now in this one, we're forcing the keyboard to go right back into the original key, but we're making our hands move so we can learn to play it in all 12 keys. So what this does for you, whenever you learn to do this, you're learning 2 things. You're learning how to move in fourths, and that's what gospel music does largely, for the most part, and you're learning how to play in all 12 keys. Because if you noticed, from E to A to D, D to G, G to C, those are all perfect fourths. It's what's called a perfect fourth. C to F, F to B flat. When you go around the entire cycle, it's 12, and you are playing in all 12 keys. So we can continue. So we go to A. The octave sounds weird. It might be, that's why. Here we go. So now we are in the original key, all right? And we know that we want to go from A to up a fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4, up to the key of D. So we know the same movement. We have, all right, it's going to start on 3. So we start over here on the D, right? 1, and then we go to 5, all right? 8, and then we go from 5 to 6, right? B, and then we go from the 6 to the 4, the G. Excuse me, I'm going to grab some and drink. I sound like I have a frog in my throat. So back to the key of D. So we're in the key of D, all right? And the keyboard is telling us it's playing in the key of D. So the hands, what I'm matching, this D here matches what you see on the screen. All right, my screen is over to my left, so I'm able to see that. So now what we can do is say, okay, now we're in the key of D. We don't have to move as much, the transpose button as much. Why? Because we're forcing the sound. Remember, our hands are moving, but we're pushing the sound right back to the key of E. For wherever we play on the keyboard, it's always going to sound like it's in the key of E. So now, because we're not moving, we're not actually changing the key, because the song is going to stay in the same key. Our hands are moving. So what we're doing now to get it from D to get it to sound like it's in E, just move up 2 semitones, E flat to E, or D sharp to E. Okay, so we have this here. Let me just do a double check here and make sure that I'm in that key.
Keep me in the valley. Come on, say it. Hide me from the rain.
So yeah, now we're in the key of E, right? What we can do is put the keyboard in the key of E, 1 semitone, 2 semitones. So now we play it back.
That's it. My God is awesome.
So we go to the 1 chord. 1.
Come on. Heals me when I'm broken.
And the next chord is going to be the 5 chord.
Strength where I've been weakened. Forever he'll reign.
And the 4 chord,
Come on, you got it. My God is awesome.
and so on. So as we do that,
Come on, say he can move.
we can continue that same vein. And I always like to reset and go right back to the original key just so I don't get lost in transpose land trying to do math and figure out where I was. So if I went up 2, all right, we're going to go back down to 1, 2. All right, so we know the original key. You do a key check.
Move mountain. Keep me in the valley.
Okay, so we know that we're in E, right? That's our check there, right? So we're good. So now the same thing works. We go from the key of D to the key of G. So we went up from D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we can practice now in G. So now we have the key of E down, we have the key of A down, and we have the key of D. Now we're gonna have the key of G down. So what we do now, you know that the key of G, the first one is gonna be 1 chord, and then we go to the 5 chord, which is D. And from the 5 chord, we know we're gonna go to the 6 chord, which would be E. And from the 6 chord, we go to the 4 chord, which would be C, all right? So we have our 6 chord, and we can play it how you like, either major 7 or this. All right, so this is what we have now, and we're in the original, right? We're in the original key of G, but now we have to transpose it and move it. So we go from G, we know that if we go, we can go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Might be a lot of button pressing, so it might be easier to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3 rather. Instead of going up 9 semitones, we go down 3 semitones, a lot easier. And we don't have to move that much in the keyboard. If we went up so high, we probably have to shift our position and change the chords because it may sound kind of weird. So with that now, we can go down 1, 2, 3. So we go 1, 2, 3. All right, play it back.
Come on, say
6.
it out me from the rain.
All right. Now we
That's
know
it.
that we're in
My God is
the correct
awesome.
key.
Come on, heals me when I'm broken.
5, right?
Strength where I've been weakened.
You go to 6.
Forever he'll reign.
You go to 4.
Come on, you got it. My God is awesome.
And we can continue to do this. Now, we're in the key of G, but we're still hearing the key of E. Our hands are moving, but the song is not going anywhere. Hands are going to do the work. So now we go right back. We said we went up 1, 2, 3. So we go down 1, or we went down 1, 2, 3, and then, uh-oh.
Come on, say he can
Okay.
move mountains.
Yeah, I thought I did something wrong. So we went down 3 semitones. So let's go back up 3 semitones. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Right. So we're in E again. Now we go from G to the key of C. So we know that the key of C is, for this song, 1. And we go to 5, 5, 6, and 4. Okay, so we have that down. 1, 5, 6, 4 is a chord progression. So we know that the key of C, all right, it's better to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 semitones than to go all the way down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 semitones. It's double that. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, up 4 semitones up to E. All right, double check. Let's make sure that we're in the right key. I think I did that before, but just in case.
Keep
Okay.
me in the valley.
In the key of E, and we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play it back.
Come on, say it happy from
6
the
chord,
rain.
5 chord.
That's it.
So I'm
My
in the
God
5
is
chord. I'm
awesome.
sorry, wrong key. My head. 1 chord.
Heals me when I'm broken.
Go to the 5 chord.
Strength
6.
where
I'm
I've
at 4
been
chord.
weakened.
And we end on the 4 here
Forever
and
he'll
C.
reign. Come on, you got it. My God is awesome.
All
Come
right,
on,
so
say he can
we
move
have an
mountains.
understanding of what that is. So we can continue. Now we've covered the key of E, the key of A, the key of D, the key of G, and the key of C. All right, so we're about halfway. When we get to the key of F, we're halfway through all 6 of our keys with the same kind of chord progression, and we can just keep looping the song. The same thing now, we go right back. So we were in the key of C. All right, we went up 1, 2, 3, 4 semitones, so we go back down to reset it. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do a sound check.
Keep me in the valley.
I'm actually gonna look up here. Right,
Come on,
I'm in the
say
key
it
of E, so I
happy
see
from
that.
the rain.
All right. So we know we're right back down. We're centered on the key of E major, or the keyboard is transposed back to 0. So now we have, because I can't see, I don't have a digital readout here. It's just these buttons that light up. So we have that. Now we're gonna go to the key of F. So we said that it's easy. The key of F, well, it's easy to transpose the button here because we just got to press it once. F is here, E is here, so it's one down, one semitone. So we just know the same chord progressions are going to be 1, 5, all right, 6, and 4. Same thing. We go down a half step, play it back.
That's it.
4, 4.
My God is awesome. Come on. Heals me when I'm broken.
5.
Strength where I've been weak.
And go to 6.
Forever
Go to 4.
he'll reign. Come on, you got it. My God is awesome.
And so on. So we can keep doing this ad infinitum and you can practice the whole thing. But what I'm saying to you is that this helps us. It helps us to not be so bored and trying to practice songs without the music and learn the same chord progressions. And as we progress, we can go on to harder and more difficult songs that have more progressions that may take us into, kind of exotic areas. But getting these down is important. So it's important to know these two things as I recapitulate. You know that you're going to be playing in all 12 keys, so this will help you to do that. But understand your numbers. You need to understand the number system, all right, natural number system. If you don't know it, learn it. Number 2 is that you need to know all your diatonic chords in all 12 keys. And number 3, this is helpful because as you learn with gospel music, you will learn to move up in fourths or move in sections of fourths. This teaches you to play in all 12 keys. I hope this has been a blessing to you. I hope this has helped you. I'm sure that it has because learning this concept with the transpose button has helped me tremendously to be able to overcome some of the hurdles and some of the blocks that were in my life and in my musicianship. Now, if you haven't yet, you need to go over to my website and check out my free guide to you, my gift to you. It's called What Do Pro Musicians Know That You Don't? I'll go ahead and I'll leave the link in the description at gospelprogressionsuniversity.com/Gospel Keys Pro. This guide will help you. I get into more detail about some of the chords and some of the things that are popular in gospel music, some of the scales and what we're listening to, what we're hearing when we listen to gospel music. God bless you, and I will see you in the next video.